Good morning, YouTube. This is LA Prepper here on this Friday morning at 6 o'clock, September 22nd. Just been watching a little bit of prepping videos. Practical Nurse, who has a ton of videos, and from all accounts looks to be a very, very outstanding American. And I'm digressing a little bit here, but just thought I'd give him a shout out because he makes a lot of cool videos with a lot of really good content. I mean, just tons and tons and tons of content about gear, about different prepping related things. Check him out. So I went to the range yesterday and I thought I would share a little bit of my experience and some things I discovered. Um, it's actually really cool. I'll show you this real quick. Make sure I get it on camera well. But this is a quick layout of the range. Over on the left, we have the long range stuff out to 600 yards. The office is in the middle. Then we have some light plinking stuff here. Well, not light, I should say. You can use like handguns and bigger stuff. But anyways, there's like a little 22 section pistol area and then more long gun area and shotgun. Over to the right. Oh, I got all these targets too. So I went to the range for a couple hours, shot something like 100 and I want to say 190. I tracked 170 rounds, and I think I put 20 more rounds through just for the fun of it, or for even more fun of it. Let me get the ammo. Go ahead and open up our ammo here and show you what I shot. But I only shot 3 different types of ammo on this last trip because, well, partly because I only had 3 different types of ammo on me. You know, buying it in the 100 round quantities is not as cost effective. So, you know, for example, like, you know, buying like these bricks, and I'm keeping them because I like how easy it is to load it at the range, and I think ultimately I might just, when I buy bulk ammo, put them in these because there's 5 in a row, so you can just open up 2 slots, dump them out, and then you have 10 for each mag, rather than sitting there 1, 2, 3, 4. You know, it's not a big deal, but just kind of, I really like these bricks. They just, I don't know why, but just a really good like shape, ergonomic shape. Plus, they hold all the rounds nice and secure. I like that the most about them. So, in case you're wondering why I have all those, but I shot some, and I'll go in order that I shot. We shot some Federal, 22. Of course, it's a 22, the Marlin 795. These are a 40 grain lead round nose, or LRN, forgive me. Overall, well, the ammo, I will say, what I had a failure to fire. Where was that? Where was my failure to fire? Oh, okay. Oh, it was the 38. Interesting. Okay, so the 40, this stuff was giving me no issues. It's coming in at, I want to say, yeah, just 1,200 feet per second. So basically the minimum, um, give or take, depending on who you talk to, the manual, I think, being one of them, the minimum speed that you're really trying to push out of a Marlin. They have a fairly strong spring, so you don't want to use a light or subsonic load or below 1,200 feet per second. Because you're going to have more issues potentially. You can certainly try if you have some. I'm not saying don't use it, but I'm saying you're going to have a lot more failures if you do try to use it. So yeah, don't use it. But so I got a new scope, or a new used scope from someone in the community. I was sighting that in. Getting a little bit closer, I didn't get set up initially on with paper because you can't put paper out until they have a ceasefire. And I always take too long, getting all my stuff up and unpacked and everything and finding a spot. So actually, I was all set up and ready to plink, and then they called a ceasefire, and I was like, oh. So I didn't, since I had everything set up, I figured I'd just plink for a little bit and then I would move. So I did, and that I actually got some video. I'll share that. It's not really great video. I was actually using my ammo case with the binoculars and like putting binoculars up, and I had the cell phone behind the binoculars. So it was actually quote unquote like a scoped view, or like looking through a sighting scope or something. But to be honest, I was shooting these steel targets at 100 yards, and the targets are so damn heavy. They weren't really moving. They sort of have a 22/177 plinking range that have a lot lighter targets. But the targets I was shooting at were kind of designed for higher caliber rifles. So you hit it, and it just sort of like, you can barely tell that it's moving. I mean, if you hit it off center, it'll kind of rotate. But I was trying to get the scope performing well, so I wasn't trying to aim that far off center. So the Federal were doing. I mean, I was scoping in the rifle when I was using the Federal, so the 40 anyways, I really can't say. I mean, they were shooting consistently off target. Like when I first was shooting, partly because it was uphill, and I'll talk about that a little later, partly because the windage, I think, just wasn't quite dialed in. And it actually, I don't know if this is your guys' experience or girls' experience, but have you ever had to dial a scope like way past one? You start at 0 and then you dial it either left or right, but I had to dial it to like 6.5, whatever that is. I gotta read the scope, what level 6 setting is. I don't, as far as how many minutes of angle or inches or whatnot, but oh, one click will move the bullet a quarter inch. Oh, well, I don't know how many clicks I gave it, but a lot of clicks. I don't know how many clicks are between like 5 and 6, for example. But so the Federal seemed to be pretty consistent. I was coming in high and right of the targets initially, and then see the thing. So I was shooting uphill, and I'll the purpose of demonstration here. Good, I even have a Sharpie. So I was shooting uphill, and I'll tell you why that matters real quick. I'll show you why that matters. You probably know. If you've been shooting longer than me, and if you own a firearm, there's a good chance you've been shooting longer than I have. But let's take 2 examples here. So we have like our little target. Oh my gosh, I should stop my art thing right now. So when you're shooting on the flat, the bullet's going to go up and then down, basically in a perfect parabola. Assuming that the rifle and the target are at the same distance, the only way for it to get there is a parabola, which if you exaggerated it, would look like this. Your rifle shot will not look like this. Maybe, a mortar or an artillery shot would. But any projectile fired from a weapon is going to have a very similar path to this. Now, this is when it's flat. When you go uphill, the path kind of changes to where it has a little bit of a different shape. So the point is, when you're shooting uphill, you don't need as much elevation on the scope. In fact, you really start to hurt. So I was actually dialed in at negative elevation, and I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on that if any of you have ever had that experience. But in fact, this is one of the later targets. These are ones I haven't used. Yeah, so the very first two. Where's my light? Yeah, so the very first two targets. Oh, here we go. This was kind of after I was plinking and after I was kind of opening it up a little bit, but so so I was coming in high a lot because I had my elevation. This was still when I had my elevation dialed in at um, like I started at 100 yards because I was at 100 yards, completely oblivious to the fact that I was shooting up at like a 5, something like a 5 to 10 degree incline, um, which became apparent when all my shots were going high. So then I dialed it down to like 75 yards, 50 yards, 25 yards, still way high. I'm thinking, God damn, what is wrong with this scope? And then I realized, wow, I'm pointing, I'm really aiming up. I'm quite a few degrees up. And because 100 yards isn't that far, and 1,200 feet per second, or in the case of this BPR, 1,435 feet per second, it's not spending a lot of time in the air. So, if I was shooting flat versus uphill at 200 yards, at 300 yards, at 400 yards, then you're going to see much more noticeable differences. But even at 100 yards, coming in, way high. So then, like a little grouping over here, I guess this is BPR, which comes in pretty hot. Some good consistency here. Those three are kind of in the same hole. So that was actually not bad. This is not a terrible grouping. Even though it's high, it's right above center, which is nice, which means the windage, um, at least at that point, was good. I think I ultimately settled on 6.5. And this, I believe this is the bottom target. The top one is a little more open, one just a little bit above the bullseye here. Again, just coming in way high. Kind of a little closer grouping around here, so you can tell I was kind of getting settled in a little bit. Like if all of them were in that size, that would be kind of a nice grouping, but wasn't very windy. I certainly can't blame the wind too much for the performance. And I kind of got off topic, but I was talking about accuracy and the hill and how the hill was affecting me. So to get through, anyways, the ammo. Actually, I think I put it back in the thing there, not in my pocket. But yeah, in general, Federal 22 grain performed really well. Quality control wise, all the pellets, all the bullets, they look pretty clean. They look quality control is pretty good. They're smooth. They don't. I wasn't noticing a lot of burrs. I saw at least, I think one. I don't know if it was a 40. I think it was a 38 and a Browning. That both the head was just all jacked up, like came out of the machine bed, or just quality control. I don't know if they visually inspect every one, but as an engineer, I can tell you that it would not be terribly difficult to design a camera that could inspect a bullet. So I don't know how they're coming out of the factory looking like garbage. But I'm not paying very high amounts for this ammo either, so maybe you get what you pay for. People say good stuff about the Federal, though. Really can't trash talk it too much. So after the Federal, firing one of my, I actually really enjoy the BPR. It's a really hot round. It comes, I don't know how much they load it with, but it's 40 grains, which I guess is, since the bullets weigh mostly the same, that's kind of a representation of how much gunpowder. I mean, I know that's how heavy the projectile is, but that's how heavy the bullet total is. Yeah, sorry for my complete lack of familiarity with powder loads in 22 rounds. Maybe I will look at a couple of these. But yeah, so the Browning BPR, and just out of curiosity, I wonder if I could find one. I'm going to take 20 out here and see if I can find one that's jacked up. See what their quality control is. But the Browning BPR, and when I say BPR, it stands for brass plated. I don't think that they don't really. It's kind of funny. They really don't have a name for this ammo. I guess it's just called their BPR, but BPR means brass plated, so it's kind of a stupid name if you ask me. Like they should call it their Browning. You know, it says performance rimfire, but those are like marketing terms. That's like calling your bullet the Browning fast bullet or the Browning, you know, hollowpoint. Like that's a really unoriginal name. I don't know. But yeah, the quality of control on these I was not super impressed with. Like this one you can't really tell. But this one, the hollow point, it's not I would still fire it, but like it's really I don't know if I can show you with this, but bullets rolling off my table. Let's see here. Okay, yeah, you can kind of see it. But damn. Well, at any rate, there's just a little part on the inside of the hollow point that's kind of boogered, and it's not a big deal, but it's going to affect the trajectory ultimately. It's going to be enough for you to miss your rabbit or squirrel. You know, I don't know, but yeah, see, like, look at this shit. This thing is fucking loose. You know, and pardon my French, but I don't want the bullet to be loose on the round. That's really not. It's not great. Fuck, this one's loose too. God, I don't know what the. This has gotta be. Man, like, I don't know what kind of machine processes these bullets, but it's beating the shit out of these things. God, this. You know what? That makes me wanna. Why are those all loose? If you guys shoot 22s, please let me know if you ever frequently have round. See, yeah, the Federals, all of these are tight. They're not supposed to be fucking loose. Wow, that's really shit quality control if you ask me. I mean, unless they just design them like to be released and they just sort of crimp them so that they're always I just can't imagine that. It really makes me want to write Browning and say, I just got a whole box and all the bullets were loose in the casings. What's the deal with that? And now I do have to look that up because I don't know the answer to that. But at any rate, shot the BPRs. Other than them quality control not being 100%, I do like them very much as a round. I would go hunting with them, and I think they're kind of designed for hunting. That's why there's a picture of a squirrel in front, you know. But I was getting the rifle scoped in a little better. I have here 7 too much on the windage, go to 6, you know. So I was yeah, it was just coming. It was way wide right, and we weren't having wind from the left. If anything, the wind was coming from the right or from behind me, which was screwing up my elevation even more. So I'm shooting with the wind behind me uphill, like the bullets just floating over there. I could not get my shots to come down. I think I shot high the entire day. Like, even take a look at my final target here. Yeah, it was only until my final target that I was actually able to start shooting a little bit lower. And here, this is the last target that I shot of the day where I was finally sort of kind of getting a little bit closer. So this, I think I put something like 50 rounds in this thing. So it was like 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, and maybe like 10, 10. Because I shot sort of like. So on this one, I'm coming in mostly lower to the left. And actually, let me see. Yeah, I think a couple of these are from the center too, because that's already. Yeah, I was only supposed to be putting 10, so that's like 1, 2, 3, 4 up there. But then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I actually have 10 right here. If that's like a solid. but I don't necessarily think that's a grouping in the same clip, even though it looks like it really could be, because I don't know what the deal with these three guys is. That's kind of like its own little grouping. But at any rate, unless I was coming high off this one, but yeah, I think I was. Yeah, because I was coming high and right on all of these. And those were coming in like around here, I think. Those are coming in around here. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Yep, so I was coming in. Draw this garbage on here. Yeah, so this grouping was when I was aiming at this target. This pretty decent grouping, which I actually, believe it or not, I fire more accurately when I fire a little bit quicker. Like if I'm going plink, plink, I'm kind of moving around so much that every time I readjust, every time I move, it kind of screws me up. But these 10 shots, I know for sure in the center, I was just kind of like plink, 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 just tried to really freeze and put them. And so actually not a bad grouping there. That, at 100 yards, that's a rabbit, but probably not a squirrel. I mean, yeah, you have a better chance of making kind of an inhumane shot on a squirrel. So part of hunting is, you're not trying to torture the animal by hitting it in a lung and having it, suffer endlessly as it's, bleeding out or whatnot. So you want to be able to put a shot through the heart or through the head and end its life in a humane way as possible. So these shots are from this one. So this one's coming a little bit high. That one's still a little bit high. This one was definitely way high and to the right. I think I was getting a little more tailwind right then. These ones are coming in to the right, a little bit high. And actually, so I put 20 rounds, but like 10 were here and then 10 I kind of aimed lower. So there's sort of 10 up here and then there's kind of some stragglers over here. So all day I was aiming right. I had trouble with the windage all day apparently. Getting it dialed in, just enough. And I was coming a little bit high, partly because I was shooting uphill, partly because I had a little bit of a tailwind that was picking up. Things to consider. I'm gonna have to find some BLM land in Southern California. Not find. I mean, I know where it's on a map, but go out there so I can shoot flat. That's the biggest range. I don't think there's like one more outdoor range around here, but I don't know. I'll have to ask them elevation on their range. But at any rate, so ultimately, I did, get to within, I don't know, a couple inches of the center of the target. I was still, it was a little bit tough scoping in with the sort of varying conditions. If it was a consistent wind, that would be one thing, but the wind kind of shifting definitely made it a little interesting. I think next time, given how close I am right now, I will probably try to scope it in at 50 yards. It's probably more sensible to scope it in at 50. I was just kind of messing around, and I know it's a really accurate rifle, so I'm not. So I figured, why go to all that trouble at 25 when I'm gonna want to shoot at 100 or 200 anyways? So I just started scoping it at 100. But I might try to scope it at 50 just to kind of see if it makes it a little more straightforward, and then shoot out at 100 and maybe just use holdover. And unfortunately, my reticle is not, I guess it's a duplex reticle, so I have a little bit of holdover capability, but I don't have a lot of notches on the reticle, so it's not that easy to um, estimate how much I'm holding over or under. But let me just cover a couple more things real quick. So I got some new earphones, which I took to the range. They are 3M. I think they're good for 30 decibels. They are super comfortable. They're really actually surprisingly comfortable. Like I hate wearing earphones mostly. I'm just not a fan of it. I don't. It's not like I hate it more than anything in the world. I'm just not a big fan of wearing earphones. I absolutely do. I like my ears, but given the option, I would typically not wear earphones because they're usually really uncomfortable. They kind of pinch you in weird ways. Um, they'll pinch you like too much like this or too much like that. I'm not like a pansy or anything, but these are just really comfortable. They have a good amount of force against your head. They flex really nicely so that if your head's shaped like that or like that, they're not super stiff. The band is really comfortable. Really improved the shooting experience. In fact, they muffled the sound so well. Like some of the shots kind of sounded weird, like just kind of hard to describe, but it muffled it so well. Like I almost didn't recognize them as gunshots. I mean, I knew people were shooting, but they just didn't sound. If I closed my eyes and someone played that sound, I wouldn't necessarily say, "Oh, that's a gunshot." So earphones were great, and I had earplugs in under those. People have high caliber weapons, and someone walks up to you next to you with a 45 and starts firing right next to you, and I've had that happen, and was catching rounds. I really wish they had more round catchers. That's one of the only kind of annoying things. Like I don't mind sharing space with people. I just wish that they had, and they do have round catchers. They just don't really have them on certain benches. So it's like they have them on benches, but they don't have them on the tables. So anytime you're at the table and you stand next to someone, you're just kind of like at the mercy of wherever their stuff's flying. Um, this little freaking SOB, it's a bore snake, and in theory, they're super awesome. In practice, this little fucking thing would not go down the barrel. I don't know. I don't think a lot of lube or something would have helped. I'm really not trying to get it like all greasy or anything, but I don't know why this is sticking out so much. But I get the idea, and I think what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna like hang it up and see if I can stretch this thing out and just kind of make it want to be a little skinnier naturally. But it would not go down the goddamn bore. Oh, I felt like such an idiot, like literally shaking my rifle, trying to get this thing down, just to clean it out. I just wanted to run it through after 100 rounds, just to make sure I wasn't, leaving a bunch of gunk in there. I'm gonna clean the rifle, but so embarrassing trying to get that thing through the stupid barrel. If any of you have advice, or if you ever had problems with trying to get a bore snake through, if it was just your bore snake was too thick, or do you need to lubricate the bore snake more, or do I have a shitty weight on mine? Do you have a weight that's a lot? I feel like if it had a heavier weight, it would work a lot better. So I don't know, I might try to. I don't even know what I'm going to do. It really frustrates. Maybe I could buy a weight or make one and crimp it on or something, but it frustrates the hell out of me that I bought that thing to take to the range and I could not get it to work. But I was out there for about 2.5 hours. Had a good time. Got to play with my bipod and get the scope kind of working a little bit. Wasn't super busy. I decided to go on a day that SWAT was not out there, so that was good. Had a lot of space. Everyone on the range was super professional. All the people that work there, all the people shooting at the range are, I love all law-abiding citizens who decide to support the Second Amendment. I don't care. Um, don't care what else you believe. If you and I disagree on everything, but you own a firearm, you're still an outstanding American, in my opinion, because you've decided to protect yourself as need be. and protect, others. That's not really our job, unless it's a national emergency or something like that. But um, yeah, so thanks for watching this video. Um, I highly recommend going out to the range at least once a month. I would love to go out once a week, but I don't know if my budget can afford that. Even as cheap as the 22 stuff is, just the fees and driving out there. I'm actually going to start making my own targets. Maybe I'll do a video on that. But thanks for watching. I know I didn't cover too many educational posts in the video, but just kind of a general what my experience was out at the range as someone that is kind of starting out with a very minimal amount of experience. Definitely recommend taking notes. I took notes of 170 of 190 rounds, um, including, what bullet I used, what the weather was, what the result was, how I was scoping, how I was adjusting the scope, so that next time I'm out there, um, you know, I'll probably take, decent-ish notes until I get the scope sighted in a little bit better. But once I kind of get it zeroed into where I want it, and once I kind of figure out, I guess it's a quarter MOA, so a click is a quarter of an inch. Once I have that kind of dialed in, then um, I can get a little more comfortable with it to where I'm making adjustments, on the fly. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.